Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to another very special, as always, edition of the Hyperconscious Mastermind. Today, for week number 19, we are going to talk about one of my favorite things, probably my favorite speech and topic and vibe. This is my sort of vibe, what it really takes to live your dream life. So again, I'm not going to go through my entire story because you guys have probably sat through it multiple times at this point. You probably know it at least as well, if not better than I do. But 3.5 or 4 years ago, I was suicidal. I was miserable. I was at not a dead-end job, but something that I felt was dead-end. And now I am the man that you see, right? We're 423 episodes in. I'm a speaker. I have an amazing relationship. Like, life is very good right now. But it wasn't always that way. And we're going to talk about the 5 things that made the biggest difference specifically for me, but I'm sure Alan can attest to these as well. Because a lot of people maybe aren't in the position that I was in terms of like suicidal and feeling trapped and lost, but they're feeling maybe some way that they don't want to feel. Maybe they're probably not where they want to be, right? How many people do you know that are exactly where they want to be in life? I know I'm not, right? I know you're probably not. Like, we're working towards that. Okay, so we're going to take you through the 5 things that made the biggest difference for me, and we're going to go deep. So this is going to be a little bit different. We're not just going to hammer 5 tactics. We're going to kind of do this in like a podcast style way. So you guys are going to be live with us. Anytime you have any questions, raise your hand, and we'll just hammer them live. It's just going to be a little bit different.
Or throw them in the chat, and Amy or Tiff,
Either one.
if you don't want to speak up on the mic.
Let's get weird.
Mind if I say something real quick?
I do. Yeah, no, I do.
So here's something that I think is a good sort of preamble to what Kevin's about to go through, what we're about to go through. It wasn't long ago that my girlfriend's younger sister, Ella, asked me a simple question. And it's a question that maybe you guys have been asked before, but my answer kind of surprised me and definitely surprised her. She asked me, if you won the lottery, what would you do with that money? She said, imagine you won the lottery, $30 million. Like, what would you do? And I literally told her, I sat with it for a second. We were setting up to eat dinner. And I remember saying, like, honestly, I would just do an amplified version of everything I'm already doing. And if I'm honest, I would be far more philanthropic and my charity would already be up and running. That was it. That was my answer. And she's like, she sat with it, and it wasn't long, probably 10, 15 minutes later. She's like, that was the best answer I've ever heard. And I was surprised. She's like, normally people go to like the cars and the jet skis and the boats and all that. And that's all fine and that's all fun. But if you want to know whether or not you're really living your dream life, if you won the lottery and you just want an amplified version of that, like more travel, more podcasting, more speaking, more fun, unique experiences with your beautiful girlfriend or boyfriend, like that to me was a testament of like, I really am living my dream life. Now, does my bank account say what I want it to? Is my physique as strong or as healthy as I want it to be? Of course, we're all a work in progress. But if your life today is not an amplified version or a less amplified version of what you want your future life to be, figure out why not. And then I think this is going to be sort of the roadmap to get to it.
Story time. Yeah, story time before we hammer. So episode 7 of the Hyperconscious podcast, I was still at this job I didn't like. And Alan and I listened to this on the way to our first TV appearance together, which was like a weird thing that I never thought was going to happen. But episode 7, I said that I wanted to wake up when I want. I want to podcast when I want with amazing people. I want to go to the gym when I want. I want to have an amazing relationship. Like, I want freedom. I want freedom. And 415 episodes later, that is very much what I have. Now, I always say this when people say, how are you doing? I always say living the dream. And 4 years ago, if you asked me that, I would have said the same thing, but I wouldn't have meant it. And now I mean it. And I think when I say that, a lot of people think like, oh, okay, yeah, like your life's perfect. Far from it. Far from it. Just because I'm quote unquote living the dream doesn't mean some of these dreams aren't nightmares, right? But it's a good nightmare. It's something that I want to work through. It's the work that I want to do. Okay. So the first step in any of this is clarity. Like, for me, I think I was somewhat lucky with my clarity, and maybe it just lined up the way, you know what I mean? But if I was to ask you right now to write down your dream life, would you even know where to start? Like, I always do this with my clients. Okay. Where are you waking up? Who are you waking up next to? What did you do the night before? Where are you going? Are you driving to an office? Are you working from home? Are you on the road somewhere that's considered your office? Are you traveling? Like, getting crystal clear on what you want is the only way to get it. And so many people, number one, we're not taught this. This is what you're taught. What school do you want to go to? And that's it. Or what do you want to do after you graduate? That's it. And it ends there when you get your career. But career and passion are not synonymous for most people. Honestly, they're not even close for most people. Right? So my challenge for everybody here is to get crystal clear. And there's a lot of different ways to do that. If you want to do the pyramid, you can do that.
Yeah.
For me, it's a question. Okay, if you woke up tomorrow and money did not exist, I don't want to say you have all the money in the world. Money genuinely does not exist and you could not fail. What would you try to do? Would you start a podcast? Would you start a business? Would you travel? Would you walk dogs? Would you be a stay-at-home mom or dad? Like, get crystal clear on that and have the audacity to admit it.
The moment you have the audacity to admit what you really want, not what you believe you can get right now, but what you really want. Kevin uses the analogy of the splits. You've heard me say it before. You've heard him say it before. None of us can probably do the splits right now. And if you can, kudos to you. I can't do the splits right now, but I can't make the mistake of saying I can't do the splits ever. Because if I worked on doing the splits every day for a year, guaranteed I can do them.
You would tear your stuff.
Maybe it would take a few years.
Tear your groins.
How many years would it take?
Probably a year.
Probably a year.
Yeah,
okay.
I don't know. I'm not the gymnast here.
But here's what we do. We don't want to admit our real dreams because then all of a sudden we don't get to just wake up in the morning and kind of wing it. Now we all of a sudden have to learn things. We have to face fears we normally would not have to face. I remember this one time I had a personal training client. And by the way, Amy had put in the chat to connect with each other on Instagram. So if you haven't done that, please do that. I want to make sure you all connect offline. That's one of the most fulfilling things ever, is for us to see you guys learning and growing, even external of us.
Oh, sure.
That said, though, I remember I had this personal training client, and he had one of the things I ask is, what's your dream physique? What's your vision? And he sent me a picture of his dream physique, and it was someone else's physique, but this is for vision purposes. And this physique that he sent me was a super, super successful, famous bodybuilder by the name of Sadiq. And I ended up talking to him and trying to figure out how aligned his current life is with that goal. And he ended up telling me, he said, but I really don't like weight training. Like, I don't like weight training. Now, this is going to sound hardcore, but when I'm a coach, my job is to tell the truth. I said, then forget it. That physique, based on my sense of awareness, is not possible without weight training. So the reason why we don't own what we really want is because we're so petrified of what it's actually going to require of us. But here's what I'll tell you. The fears you must face to achieve your dreams is actually going to create the human you've always wanted to be, as long as it's true desire of the heart.
It's a teaser clip right there.
Oh, you think so?
That's a teaser
clip.
clip. Many people, I won't say most people. Bob Proctor says this. I can't take credit for it. I will, though, but I can't. He says that most people set goals based on what they can get, not what they actually want. Like, think about that. How many of the goals that you have set were under the assumption that, like, I could probably get that, versus, like, what do you actually want? Like, dream a little bit. One of my favorite quotes is, your reality becomes the parts of your imagination you hold on to the longest.
Fire.
Think of the people who are changing the world. Elon Musk. How big is that dude's imagination? He wants to go to Mars, right? Like, think of that. Jeff Bezos, Amazon, like that kind of company. Your imagination has to be giant for you to do that, and you have to hang on to it. There's so many people who are going to tell you your dreams are not real. Like, Alan and I have gotten flack for being you guys are podcasters. What does that even mean? How do you make money? How do you do this, right?
I got flack this weekend. It's still happening. Literally, like 421 episodes in, like, we monetize the show. We have a real business, and I'm still getting shit on. It's like, okay. Like, it's never going to stop. Like, whatever. Go ahead. Sorry.
No, you're good. You get fired.
I did.
A little fired up.
Yeah, it hurt my heart a little.
Yeah, I can imagine. But it's the clarity, right? When you're clear on what you want, it's easy to say, screw the naysayers. Because if you don't want what I want, you're not going to understand why I'm doing what I'm doing. And that's totally fine. That's totally fine. And if that's the reason I'm doing it, I'm already in trouble, right? Like, I'm already in trouble. So for Alan and I, clarity, we want to have a very successful podcast. We want to influence as many people, build like at least 1 billion people. There's a lot of big goals that we have, but we've come to this realization recently. The reason Alan and I work together so well is because we want to be the best men we can be. Greater than anything else, I want to be a great man. I want to be a great man to my girlfriend, to Alan, to the team, to every single one of you guys, to every person I get the opportunity to impact. And that's my ultimate goal. Everything like the studio, that's just, okay, that's part of it, right? That's not the destination. That's just a stop, right? The money, the listens, all that, that's just a stop.
Personal growth has always been our real goal underneath our external tangible goals. So just to bring this, down to earth here for a second, we want to have the most successful personal development podcast of all time.
Of all time.
Okay, so that's the external goal, the shiny object. What it will require of us as men is to be the real goal, which is to grow as much as possible, right? That's why it's in personal development. And so when you do have a goal of growth, whether it's an intimate partnership, a friendship, and we're going to talk about your relationships here in a second, every challenge Kevin and I had ended up being a good thing because the real goal was growth. Every disagreement, every time we were out of rapport, which I'm sure you've all seen or heard, it ended up being something new we could learn about ourselves, raise our awareness to make better choices, to be better men. And we realized recently, I think that's why we've worked so well, hindsight's 2020, is because, the goal was to have, the most successful personal development podcast of all time, and that's the true north. But what that will require of us is the real goal underneath it, which is being the best men possible.
I will win.
Oh, well, yeah,
It's funny because when we were back in like our old studio, like 2 years ago, I remember we used to have a competition for the biggest heart. Remember that?
Yeah.
And I would always say, like, Alan, you might be, I don't care if you're smarter, I don't care, whatever. I have a bigger heart than you. And that's always been our thing. And it's interesting to see it come full circle now. And
I forgot about that.
I did too.
Hardest workers with the biggest hearts.
Yeah, that's The Rock though, right?
No, I think that was something I came up with.
You made it up.
I think because that's
something original.
That's what we reminded. Yeah.
So that's my challenge to you guys. And dig deep. See, this is the thing. I could very easily say I want to have the greatest podcast of all time. And this is what we say, not just for a life of freedom for Alan and myself, but to prove to countless others that they can have whatever life they're willing to work for. That's a great statement. That's a great mission statement. But why? Because I want to be the best man. I want people to see me and say, wow, that exists. Or I want women to see me and say, wow, men like that exist. I want men to see me and say, wow, I can be vulnerable too and have tattoos and be a bodybuilder. Like, I want to empower people into believing anything is possible because for a long time, I didn't.
Once you choose what you really want and commit to that, the beliefs you'll need to uncover about yourself and others, the core values you'll have to develop, the behaviors and habits you'll have to develop, those are where the real benefit is. The last thing I'll say here, and we'll move to number 2.
Wait, hold on. There's a question.
Okay. What do we got?
Somebody wants to know, how did you move on from firing your friends? Personally, I have fired my best friend for 7 years, and he's just not in alignment for my values and goals. He was someone I outgrew.
I would start by reframing fired to reallocating time, just because you're not a bot. Like, it's not a company. You're not firing somebody. You're deciding that this person might not give you the lift off that you need to get to your goals. I would say you just need to reallocate time and understand you don't never have to speak to this person again. Like, you can definitely, honestly, and this is something I'm pretty open and honest about, I cut out a lot of friends, and sometimes I regret the way I did it. Like, I just kind of left and said, like, look, I'm not going to let anybody stop me. In retrospect, I might have had a conversation. I might have tried a little bit harder. I might have understood that, like, it's not that cut and cold. Like, it doesn't have to be, I never see you again. It can be, and this is what I always say, understand your intention, understand your outcome, and understand your expectation. When you go into the room with this friend, maybe you're not going to learn something new about personal development, but maybe you're going to connect. If you can, like, change your expectations and just say, like, you know what, I'm just going to go in for perspective and a good time, it's a completely different experience. And I would say, treat it like you're going underwater. Don't spend too long under there.
Because you might drown. No, I'm just kidding.
It's possible.
So there's 2 things I'll say quickly. One is the 3-3-3-3 rule. So 3 minutes, 3 hours, 3 days, 3 weeks. So is this person someone I can spend 3 minutes with, but not 3 hours? Maybe this other person's someone I can spend 3 hours with, but not 3 days. Maybe this person's someone I can spend 3 days with, but not 3 weeks. Just make sure your intimate relationship is a 3-weeker, at least, But seriously, there is no right or wrong in terms of your associations or who, when it comes to people. I think there's aligned or not. And when I talk about alignment, and we just did an episode on that, we're going to actually talk about that today.
Oh, yeah.
Surprise.
That's a bonus one.
It's a bonus one.
You come for 5, we give you 6. Hyperconscious Podcast.
Over deliver. So are my goals in alignment with this person? Are my behaviors in alignment with this person? Are my core values in alignment with this person? And are my beliefs in alignment with this person? And if the answer is no to a lot of those, maybe they're a 3-minute person, not a 3-hour person. If it's some of them, maybe it's a 3-day, but not 3-week. Who you're around is who you become. We all know that. But when it comes to like the practical aspect of this, I think alignment is really where we can start to reallocate time more effectively, because it's not all or nothing, right?
Fire. All right. So number 1 is clarity. Number 2 is why power.
Oh, I had one more thing, if you don't mind. I know.
Now I got to reverse the whole thing.
But on clarity for the goals.
I'm just kidding.
I know.
Just want to make sure.
We're in rapport. He's just making funnies. Okay. So on clarity, there's 4 types of goals. This is something that I don't think I know we weren't ever taught. And I heard it once and I was like, wow, that's fire. Okay. So the 4 types of goals is not only once you get clear on your goals, there's 4 types. You can put them in buckets. Number 1 is results goals. Okay. So I want to lose 20 pounds. That's a results goal. Then there's process goals. I want to go to the gym every day for at least 40 minutes and weight train. Okay. That's a process goal. Or I want to have 5,000 podcasts, whatever. Okay. Philanthropic goals, goals for others, completely selfless. Make sure that bucket's full. If it's not, you're going to be selfish and not fulfilled, no matter how many goals you achieve. And then the last one is growth goals. Like, so one of them could be the results goal is I want to be the greatest speaker, highest paid speaker in the industry. Okay, number 1. Process goal is I want to do 5,000 speeches. Philanthropic goal is I want to take 10% of that money and donate it to charity every time I make money speaking. Growth goal, I want to develop my own ability to communicate effectively with other humans. See, those are 4 different types of goals. And I think we were all taught like, oh, well, I intend to be a millionaire. But that's the least important part of the process. That's an important goal to have, but financial mastery needs to be a growth goal underneath it. Otherwise, you'll never get it, and it'll just be a wish.
Fire.
Thank you, man.
Fire. Very valuable. All right, number 2. Am I good to go?
Yeah.
Okay. Number 2 is why power. So this is something we always talk about. Alan's beautiful girlfriend, Emilia, and Bianca have a podcast called the Why Power Podcast. Free plug. We don't give those away often. But I don't think a lot of people are in touch and connected to their why. It's easy for me to say I am because I'm sitting on the edge of a bed suicidal and I realize I want to be the person that I need right now, right? That's easy. But it also can fade. Like when things get hard, you can forget your why power. When you get used to the life you're living, you can forget your why power. When you're scared, you can forget your why power conveniently. I know I've done that many times in the past. And the example I always use is if I walk up to Alan and I say, Alan, I got a crisp $20 bill and it's all yours. You can have it. It's in that burning building over there. You just got to go in there, hang out for a couple minutes, come back up, you get that 20.
No.
Alan's probably not going to do it. But if I run over and grab him and say your family is in that building, you don't need anything. That's why power, right? That is why power. And a lot of people, I don't know if people are afraid to use it, right? Like if you emotionalize something, you're going to be far more likely to get it. It just is that way. We are emotional creatures as humans. That's what separates us from many other creatures, right? So I always tell my clients, like, imagine what it would feel like to have these things. Imagine what it would feel like to have your dream house. But at the end of the day, we have to understand why we're doing what we're doing. So it's usually deeper than you think, right? Sometimes it's not just to be successful for a life of freedom for yourself, but maybe your parents took really good care of you and you want to take care of them. Maybe your entire life you were broke and you don't want to be broke, right? Maybe you had something bad happen to you when you were a child and you don't ever want to see a child go through that again. Maybe you want to start a charity, a nonprofit. It's deeper. It's not the $1 million. It's not the car. You might think it is until you get it. And then you're going to realize, oh, there's got to be something below this. There has to be something on the foundation that made me feel pulled to do this. Okay. So I would say get crystal clear on that. Now, is it always easy? Not necessarily, but I think if you dig, like we do the 7 whys,
yeah,
right? We've done that. So ask yourself a question or have somebody else do it because it's a lot easier when somebody else does it. And then have them ask why 7 times.
You did that to me recently.
I did that to you recently. You'll get to the core of something. Now, if you don't hit it in 7, keep hammering, keep asking why. But like, why is the answer, right? So obviously, like for me, it's being able to help people that I think I was at one point. I wasn't confident. I didn't have any belief. Like there's a reason I want to help people build belief. There's a reason I like helping early entrepreneurs because I didn't believe in myself as a businessman or an entrepreneur, right? Second why is Taryn. Like, again, I'm not going to cry, but I might. I can't fail because of her. I will not. I refuse to. It's not in my blood. Like, this is in my blood. This podcasting thing is in my blood. Like, when I say I will die, I mean it. I will die before I quit. I will not quit this. But that's because my why is so entangled in this. Like, I traded my entire old life for this. And I'm not saying you have to do that, but you have to find something that you would die for and then live for it. That's what I always say. If you want to become more of yourself, find something greater than you and then chase that thing.
Yeah, someone once said, you'll never fully live until there's something for which you're willing to die. And I do think that we all have something deep within us that touches our heart at the deepest level. Just for a few practical, tangible examples here, what injustice in the world like really pisses you off, like really bothers you? So I'll give you an example for me. The fact that we didn't learn about money in school bothers me all the time. We use money every day of our life. We use food every day of our life, and we weren't taught anything about either of those things. To me, that is a huge injustice, and you can feel me getting fired up. That's what gets me up in the morning. Ignorance, apathy, either you don't care enough or you don't know enough. Those are the enemies, in my opinion. That's who I'm fighting against, right? So who is the enemy you're fighting? Like, what is the enemy you're fighting? And that's gonna create a fire inside you that will really help you push through. I don't feel like working out today. I don't feel like doing this podcast today. I don't feel like showing up, to this mastermind today. It's bigger than all that. So anytime, Kevin has a fear that I know he wants to face, I'll ask him like about those fears. And one of them is selling. So like you had an aversion to selling for a time. And all I had to do was connect it for him, help him connect it to, Taryn and his future. And then all of a sudden it's happening and he's crushing it. And so for you, there's something out there that pisses you off. That's an injustice in the world where it's causing people massive pain. For my girlfriend, it's the environment. What we're doing to the world upsets her so much, right? Okay, so find out what yours is. The other one is what makes you cry. What movies make you cry and why? Why? And that's going to help you find whatever that pain is. If you tap into that, I'm telling you, you'll be what you think is your greatest weakness is actually your greatest strength. You just got to keep uncovering that.
A Star is Born. When I saw that in theaters, I bawled my eyes out. I think it's because it's somebody believed in somebody enough to give them a chance and they succeeded.
Yeah.
That's my jam.
And then the suicide thing too.
And the suicide thing. Spoiler alert. If nobody's seen that movie. Spoiler alert. It's a great movie. All right. So this is the thing too. A lot of people ask, I'm sure you get this question a lot. How do I stay motivated? You find something that inspires you. There's a difference between motivation and inspiration. There's a big difference. Like, was I motivated to get up this morning? Absolutely not. I wanted to sleep in. But I have a lot of stuff I got to get done, right? I'm inspired to have these calls, to have these masterminds. Like, guys, at one point, this was a dream. To have a group of people, like, come to this and see us speak live or have guests on here. Like, it's wild, right? So we have to make sure that we remember why we started this in the first place. Remember why you started your journey in the first place. Because the law of familiarity creeps in and we forget, right? We've done this 420 times. Like, we forget what it was like to do it the first time. We forget what it was like to do the first mastermind 5 months ago.
From the van.
All right.
We got a letter.
Yes.
We have letters hung up in the studio of people that have reached out thanking us for changing their life. Shout out to Mo. I don't think Mo's here today.
Mo's not here.
But she wrote us such a kind letter that we both read today. And it's like, that's what we play for. It's awesome. We have them up right over there. I also have a folder called My Deepest Why in my Dropbox. And every message I've ever gotten from someone who it was either a video or a text message, I literally, you know what? I'll give a shout out to Devazio. Devazio messaged you and I.
Yes.
Saying he just closed three homes in real estate. And he said, if it wasn't for you guys, I wouldn't be who I am today. Thank you so much. And I literally took, and he sent us a picture of him with a plaque. Mm-hmm. And it's like, I literally took the time to screenshot that, edit it, put it into Photoshop, and then put it into my folder. Anytime I'm down and I'm crying and I'm struggling, I go into that folder and I look at it. I have 197 times of Emilia's gratitudes ever since we first met. I also have every photo and every video we've ever taken of us with Tucker or hiking or, at a family party. I go to those folders when I'm down because that's what I play for. So what are you playing for that you can tap into, when you're down.
Just another shout out to Devazio. We spoke in Florida. He got into a car accident on the way down, got a rental car and kept going and still came to the event. Like, why power? Because some part of him believed that event could possibly change his life. We met him in person and now he's crushing it. Obviously he's doing the work. We just have a podcast. Devazio is the man. Okay. This might be my favorite one.
Yeah.
Number 3 is relationships. Do your friends suck? Simple question, tough to answer, right? And again, I know we spoke about it earlier. Like, you don't have to get rid of these people out of your life, but what you do have to do is admit it. Okay? I don't know who said the quote. Somebody said it. You are the sum average of the 5 people you spend the most time with. Jim Rohn. Shout out to the powerful Jim Rohn. But I don't think a lot of us really, really either understand or commit to this. Now, again, like we said earlier, I'm not saying cut people out, but if you do become the average of the 5 people you spend the most time with, how can you increase the quality of the people you spend the most time with? That would be my question. You don't have to get rid of anybody, but upgrade, right? If there's somebody out there doing something you want to do, find a way to connect. You guys are here right now. So if you're the sum average of the 5 people you spend the most time with in this group, you're going to probably do pretty damn well because everybody in here is growth minded, right? So that's why you're here. That's why you're here, 1 and 2, right? We'll gladly be part of the 5 people you surround yourself with. But it starts with asking yourself that question, like, what is my circle doing to me? That's the first question. First question, what is my family doing to me? What is my job doing to me? What is my partner doing to me? Right? I always like asking the tough questions because I think people are afraid to ask themselves that. But you have to answer it at the end of the day. And I know if you're anything like me, you've done some soul searching. Like, I've left relationships in the past because they didn't serve me, right? Dating people, not necessarily family, but I don't talk to a lot of my family that have like very fixed mindsets or that I don't really want to take after, right? Like, that's part of it. Friends, I've distanced myself from friends. But when you have a giant goal and other people don't, sometimes that's part of it. Like, if, David Meltzer, we have a chance to do a call with Dave, I'm going to do that call. That's important to me. Mark Metry, that's important to me. The team call, that's important to me, right? A coaching call, that's important to me. So you have to decide, and you also have to own it. People aren't always going to understand. Honestly, more often than not, they probably won't. But how could they? They do stuff every day that you might not understand, right? So understand they're not going to understand.
That's fire.
Bumper sticker. I'm going to get that
really
made.
Good. I only have one thing to say on this one, and it's something that I didn't realize until I wish I had realized this earlier, honestly. So back in high school, I played a lot of Halo. Halo 2 was a really big, one of the first like online massive first-person shooter games. And if you're a gamer, you know what I'm talking about. And I was like 20th in the world at one point, and that's all nonsense. Here's my point. All my friends were great at Halo. Were they my friends because we had common core values, common beliefs, common goals, and common behaviors? Yeah, we had a common core value, Halo. Fun, unique experiences create friendships, create relationships. All of us are trying to have a relationship with everyone in this room because we have one common core value: growth, hyper-consciousness. Look back at your past and understand, you know what? All my friends in high school loved Halo. All my friends in college, they liked to drink. And they also, by the way, loved Halo. My roommates in college, I love those guys. They're great. If they're listening right now, I love you guys. But the reason we lived together was honestly because we love to play Halo. Okay? And if I don't have the intelligence to acknowledge that, what happens when I stop playing Halo? Maybe the common goals aren't common anymore. Maybe the common core values aren't common anymore. Maybe we don't have the same beliefs. Maybe our behaviors are a little different. When I started getting into fitness, I dove deep. And now all of a sudden, all my friends are in crazy good shape.
Not right now, I'm not.
Almost all my friends are in crazy good shape. But seriously, and it hurt for a long time. Oh, you're a bodybuilder now? You guys have heard me say that. Oh, you're a podcaster now? I got all that stuff. It's all nonsense. The truth of the matter is I was a pro gamer. I am a podcaster. I am a bodybuilder, and I'm going to be whatever I say I'm going to be. And if you don't like it, that's too damn bad.
Wow, so, fired up. Yeah, fired up. This is live on Facebook.
I know. I'm glad.
Breaking people's hearts. So I would get clear on why your relationships, like Alan just said, why are your relationships the way they are? Again, Alan and I have a great relationship because we're focused on growth. Okay, Taryn and I have a great relationship because we're focused on growth. It's expected, and this is something that I have to get better at, right? But it's expected that we're going to bring things up when they're bothering us because the point of the relationship is growth. It's not necessarily comfort, right? It's growth. That's how you have an extraordinary business, intimate, anything, any sort of relationship. You have to have that goal together.
And when growth is the goal, every challenge gets reframed as a good thing. If you're in an intimate relationship where growth is not the goal, the challenges will be just seen as challenges. And it might be like, oh, maybe this isn't working. Maybe this isn't for me. Whereas if your goal is growth, the challenges become a good thing because that's where you learn all the lessons and realign and become your best self.
If you're into fitness, you've seen this firsthand. There's two types of people you go to the gym with. The kind of people that grind and are at the gym to make progress. The kind of people who are at the gym to check the box.
Yeah.
Right? That's a great example of life. You can go to an event. Some people are there to learn. Some people are there to check the box. Right? Make sure you're there and you're doing the thing that you want to do. You're there for a reason. At least get the investment out of it. Are you good with this? You good with this one? Number 4. This actually might be my favorite. No, I think number 5 is. Number 4, fear chasing. We've talked about this a million times, but I just see this so often in other people that I challenge them to do the stuff that scares them, because the stuff that scares you will always scare you until you do it enough times. Like, guys, and I'm sure we have some podcasters in the house, hypothetically, or some speakers in the house, or some interior designers in the house, or some website designers in the house, or some photography people in the house, or real estate agents, or fitness people, all sorts of different people, right? At one point, the stuff that you're doing scared the hell out of you. Maybe it still does. Maybe you haven't done it long enough. Just because it scares you doesn't mean a couple things. It doesn't mean you can't be great at it. Doesn't mean it won't fulfill you. It doesn't mean you can't be successful. Just means you haven't done it long enough.
Mm-hmm.
Okay? Like, again, and I always say this, 150 episodes it took me to be comfortable podcasting. 150. Most people quit at 21. So if I quit at 21, I would have had that story of, yeah, you know what? It just wasn't for me. I don't want to be in the public eye, or I didn't have enough to talk about, right? I wasn't a good speaker. All of those things. So if you allow your fears to stop you, that is where you'll stop. And that'll be it. And you'll be the person in 30, 40, 50 years saying, I wish I did that. Or you'll have to make excuses to justify why you didn't. At the end of the day, if it scares you and you're not like risking your life, it's something that should be experienced. It's something that you should experiment with, because it quite literally could change your life. I am afraid of everything. Like, genuinely, I'm like a horse. I'm afraid of everything. But the stuff that I have powered through has changed my life. And that's one of the biggest things. And I always say, like, I think one of my superpowers is the ability to be scared and do it anyway. But that's all predicated on the fact that I think it'll be worth it. I know it'll be worth it. It's been worth it for me. So make sure what you're doing is actually in alignment and it's going to be worth, the fear. But I'm telling you, I wish I could create a pill that showed people what was on the other side of their fear. It's just a different perspective. And once you cross that line is gone forever to a degree. You know what's on the other side. It becomes familiar. And when it becomes familiar, you're willing to face it again.
We use the analogy of, imagine you're in a thunderstorm and you're in a car and the power lines go down and they hit the car and you're pulled over. You're told not to touch any metal because you'll die. So imagine that's your life, okay? And touching the metal part of the car, you think you're going to die, but then you get a call on your cell phone and someone says, honestly, I'm outside your car. There's no power lines touching it. Like, you're good. You're safe. You open that car door and now you're good. I feel like we all have this belief of, I can't be a speaker because I'm shy. That is not true. It's simply, maybe you have a habit of being shy. That's complete nonsense. You'll never actually open that car door if you think you're going to die. You're not going to die on stage. As a matter of fact, public speaking is one of the biggest fears statistically in humanity, but it's actually the least dangerous. No one's going to actually kill you, most likely, when you're on stage, right? So fears are irrational. We've talked about this a lot. You get in your car every single day, probably. That statistically is probably the most dangerous thing you do in a day, and it's the thing you're least afraid of. Logic versus emotion. Fears are nonsense. And we weren't taught how to overcome fear, but here's what Kevin and I are trying to say here. Get really good at identifying your fears and admitting it. Emilia and I, in our check-ins, that's what we're doing. I think I'm afraid of this. And I think that's why we're holding back this. So once you admit it, instead of being all macho of like, yeah, I don't have any fears. Like, I'm the best speaker ever, right? Like, admit the fear. Now you have necessity to overcome it. Either that or you have to choose not to have your dreams. And maybe that's a choice. You know what? Maybe I don't want to face that fear. At least now you're consciously choosing and you don't have inner civil war your whole life.
Right. I always tell people, like, if you're afraid of snakes, don't go lie in a snake pit just because. Like, if it doesn't help you get to your goals, you don't have to do it.
And that's actually dangerous.
That is dangerous.
Right.
Yeah, you could get strangled or you could get eaten.
You could.
I've seen anaconda, and that's real.
Ice Cube.
But yeah, like Alan said, and this is another thing too with like clarity and with why power. And I don't suggest people do this, but I put myself in pain, right? Either you do this or you don't get the goal. You don't get both ways, and you don't get to be like, I can't be frustrated with the result I get when I didn't put any effort in. It doesn't work that way, right? I'd have to be really good at justifying that in my mind and making excuses, okay? And that's not the way it rolls. So we're always talking about like extreme ownership. If you're afraid of something and it's holding you back, it is up to you to face it. And again, I always use the Amy story of going to the mall. We were going to do a PowerPoint when we decided against it, but I have a video. Evan Carmichael challenged me to do a video. He said, hey, when you fly home, I want you to shoot a live video and I want you to post it.
While we were taking off.
I hate taking off. It's the worst part. Okay. Landing is the best part because I'm closer to the ground. And in my mind, if we crash, I got a chance. Like, I'll tuck and roll like a turtle. I got a chance. But looking back at this video, I was terrified. I hate flying. Am I going to be the best speaker in Massachusetts? Or am I going to be the best speaker in the world? I want to be the best speaker in the world. I want to be the best podcaster in the world. I want to meet you guys, right? You guys are all over the place. How am I going to meet? What am I going to take the car?
Would never have met Mia.
Never met Mia.
If it wasn't for that.
Tiff?
Facing the fear. Yeah.
Right? That's wild.
Odette? Wild. I had one more thing I wanted to make sure I said about fear. What
about fear?
What
was
it?
About fear, is it?
I think it'll come back to me.
Okay.
Let's move on.
I have a question before you guys move on.
Absolutely hammer it. Absolutely hammer it.
How do you guys deal with guilt when you aren't consistent and are aware of it? For example, if you say you're going to do something like wake up on time but don't, how do you face guilt when you're not consistent?
Interesting. I would stack a bigger why. Like, you have to have a reason to do it. Okay? So like, you're not going to get up super early if your only goal is to get up super early. What if you work out first thing in the morning? So for me, if I don't get up, I don't get to work out. Like, it's that simple. I've been in the studio since 9 a.m., right? I was up at 4. I was at the gym at 5. If I didn't go, I don't get to work out. So there's extra pain. So we talk about habit stacking. I would say use habit stacking to your advantage. Like, it's easy to say, well, you know what? I didn't feel like doing it. I wanted to get some extra sleep. Okay, what did you miss? Not just not accomplishing your goal, but what else did you miss? What are you leaving on the table? Again, for me, I put myself in pain. That's the way I remain consistent, because I realize that, you know, the things that I do every single day make up the weeks, months, and years of my life. And if I be Jeffin now, I'd be Jeffin always.
Strong work, man.
I appreciate that.
I like that question a lot. And I think your relationship with guilt might need to shift. So, you've probably all heard me say the quote, if you had a friend who broke as many promises to you as you've broken to yourself, how much would you value that friendship? I think that self-esteem, in my opinion, only comes through doing hard things that you know are in alignment with your greatest self. And so we set these goals, right? And then we let ourselves down, then we beat ourselves up, and it's this perpetual cycle. So I would say try your best to take whatever goal it is that you have, create the process goal underneath it. So for example, if your goal is to get in better shape, say, okay, I'm going to go to the gym for 20 minutes.
Can we use get up early as the example, just so we can tie it?
Yeah, sure. Okay, so let's say, so why would they want to get up early though?
That's a great question.
Okay, so if your goal is to,
look at that, we got Jeff on the spot.
Yeah, this is interesting. Okay, so if your goal is to succeed in business and your lifestyle is not giving you enough solitude time, which is where you get the majority of your work done, so you want to wake up early before everyone else wakes up so that you can get 3 hours of focused work done. I would say there's 2 things. One, don't start with 3 hours. because you're going to let yourself down, beat yourself up, and never win. That's like trying to do the splits now versus starting small, 5 minutes, 10 minutes.
Tear your groins.
Yeah, I think the biggest problem is that we're seeing people that are successful by the time they're already successful. There's something referred to as the survival bias. So like right now, Kevin and I, we're fairly polished. We've done 400 or so episodes. We're pretty polished speakers overall. You might compare yourself to us on some subconscious level and say, oh, I could never do that. No, when the truth is you can't do that now. We didn't start here. If you go back to the very first episode, which I guess Kevin did this weekend.
Yeah, I did. It was painful. It's on Alan's YouTube.
It's on my YouTube channel. If
just
you want.
Don't watch it around your kids because I come in hot.
Yeah,
Sure.
I come in hot. It's explicit.
Yes.
But that's the thing. So I guess change your relationship with guilt. Stop comparing yourself to the top of the mountain version. Set a lower bar that you can hit, and then stack the self-esteem to actually keep hitting it. So for me, I exercise every single day. I haven't missed a single day since COVID, since the gym opened back up. I think it's probably like 20 days or so now. But I'm only doing 40 minutes a day. I set my timer for 40 minutes in the parking lot, and I'm out as soon as I finish my last set, as soon as that alarm's off. So it's an achievable goal. Rather than setting this standard that's nearly impossible of 3 hours a day and then beating myself up when I don't hit it, I set a manageable one. And then I make it a must. And if you can do that, your self-esteem will build. And then when your self-esteem builds, you start to build self-belief. Your skills are better. Now you can set bigger and bigger goals. And what I'm doing right now, last thing I'll say, I had a 52.7% day on Saturday. Okay. For me, that's like that 52.7% day is 150% of my old best day 2 years ago, because I'm getting a little bit better each day, because I'm stacking those small wins. And the last thing I say, I swear to God,
It's brutal.
Give yourself credit for the little things.
Run-on sentence.
Yeah.
That's it?
Give yourself credit for the little things. Like, acknowledge the good stuff you're doing.
I would second what Alan said, just to the point of this. If you set your alarm for 4 a.m. and you wake up at 4:15, and you usually wake up at 6, you're still an hour and 45 minutes better than you would be. That's number one. And then number two is, maybe you don't put yourself in pain like I do. Maybe you put yourself in pleasure. What would have gotten done if I got up on time? What am I missing out by not doing it? Do it once and see what it feels like. If I wake up at 5, I feel like a piece of garbage. I just do. Like, I feel like, oh my God, I'm wasting my entire day. It's been an hour, man. It's been an hour, right? I used to sleep till 1 p.m. back in the good days.
I don't think you knew what you were missing. You weren't aware.
I wasn't missing anything.
What you were missing.
I'd stay up all night watching baseball tonight, son. I need to see those dingers. All right.
Keep the questions coming, and thank you, Amy. Was that your question, Amy, or was that in the chat?
That was a message that somebody messaged me privately.
Awesome. Keep them coming.
All right. Did we do this? Are we done? No, number 5.
Yeah, number 5.
We got 12 minutes. We got a hammer.
Did we do this? Are we done?
The biggest difference between the person you are and the person you want to be is your habits. Okay. Everything is a habit. The way you communicate with your partner is a habit. Whether you work out or not is a habit. Whether you save money or not is a habit. Drink water, habit. The way you talk to yourself, habit. Every single thing that we do every day is a habit. It's either a good habit or a bad habit. I don't know that there are any neutral habits. Because over time, you either get better or worse. You don't stay the same, right? That's not how it works. It's like gravity. You can jump, but you're going to come back down eventually. Nobody floats unless they're an angel like me. So
that was pretty good.
Yeah, not bad.
Yeah.
I would check in with your habits. Like, that's what a lot of coaching is. We figure out what you're doing, what you're not doing. System of success. We've done a mastermind and several episodes on that. Okay. What are 5 things you could do every day in health, wealth, and love that would change your life? Weigh yourself for health as an example. Wealth, track your bank account. And then love, nightly gratitudes before you go to bed. Imagine if you just did those things every night, how much different your life would be, right? You have to be committed to it. I don't care if it's an accountability partner, if it's your intimate partner, have somebody hold you accountable for your habits. Because again, as the human creatures that we are, it's hard for us to do things for long periods of time, especially when you do not see any results. If you've ever tried to lose weight, the first week is garbage. Nothing happens really, right? Unless you lose like water weight because you've been eating McDonald's and then you start eating salads. Like, yeah, you lose something. But it takes time to get results in anything worth having. So I would challenge you to check in and be brutally honest with yourself. Okay? So I'll do this right now. my eating lately has been not good. Like I was tracking for a while and then I was like, you know what? I'm back in the gym. Like I feel strong. It's good. I'm just going to eat what I want. Okay. I got pizza at home waiting for me.
And cheesy fries.
And cheesy fries. Yeah. And also Cinnabread. It is what it is. Okay. Now, again, I'm not telling you to take that advice from me, but that's me being brutally honest. You have to be brutally honest with yourself because you will get the feedback eventually. You either give it to yourself, you get it along the way, or you get it all at once at the end. Okay? You get to choose that, but that feedback is coming for you. And again, a lot of what we're talking about is regret here. If you're not putting in the effort that you want to, you're probably not admitting it to yourself. Humans are really good at giving themselves credit for things that they don't do and giving themselves extra credit for things that they didn't do well. And I'm just as again, super guilty of that, right? So getting crystal clear on the things you should be doing every day. Listen to the System of Success Mastermind, the Habits Mastermind. Alan and I are doing free call. Like we'll do a free call and do it, whatever. But that's the stuff that if you stay aligned with that, that's how you build progress.
If you've ever said to yourself, I'm a procrastinator, or I'm not a morning person, that's honestly an identity that's keeping you in a habit. Instead of saying the truth, which is lately I haven't been acting like a morning person. Lately, I have been sleeping in. See, one of them you have the power to change. The other one is who you are. Why not use the who you are as a good thing? I'm a speaker, I'm a podcaster, I'm a coach, I'm a world-class performer. Okay? That's a positive. Instead of using your identity as a negative, I'm consistent. I say that as a positive affirmation, and then I prove it to myself every single day. Instead of like, I'm shy. No, you have habits of being shy. So all I would say is take out a piece of paper, 3 columns: good habits, bad habits, wishful habits. And be honest with yourself.
Brutally.
Every action you are taking or not taking is actually bringing you farther or closer to your dreams. Like Kevin said, the gravity thing. It's fire.
Analogies are life.
Yeah.
Sometimes I hit them out of the park. Other times I crash and burn on analogies.
I'll never forget when I did this exercise a year later, and I realized that in 1 year, I woke up and I wrote down everything I do in a given day. Okay. This is actually before the podcast, believe it or not. And I literally did this a year later, and I realized that nothing I used to do is the same as what I do now. There's no crossover. None. And other than like shower, brush my teeth, like the normal stuff. But like reading books, I went from never having read a book from front to back until the age of 26. Really think about that for a second. To now I've hammered hundreds of books, if not thousands. Like it's a different life. One habit. Aristotle says excellence is not an act, but a habit. You are what you repeatedly do. And there is no way around this. There's no way around this. If you want to be intelligent, you're going to have to read more. If you want to be in shape, you're going to have to go to the gym more. Stop trying to get around it. Stop pretending and just be brutally honest with yourself and admit the truth, but also understand that the behavior and the identity are 2 different things.
That's fire. Also,
another question.
Oh my Lord, hammer it.
Okay. Did you validate yourself to be ready for a relationship, or did you find someone and then that relationship had made you get ready?
So I always say this: if you want the relationship of your dreams, become the person that's not only able to attract that, but attract and sustain. So I think most people do not stay single long enough, because when people are in relationships, they stop working on themselves a lot of times. Probably not most people in this group, but many people stop working on themselves, and they either start working on their partner's flaws or they start working and investing only in the relationship. So I would say your relationship will only be as successful as you are as a person. Like that, I believe that more than anything. I've tried like to have relationships in the past, and I wasn't me. I wasn't ready. I wasn't ready to give. And this is the other thing. Don't think about what you're getting from the relationship. Think about what you're giving. If you approach your relationship from that, it's a completely different one.
To answer this, I would just say kind of what Kevin said. The relationship can only be as good as you are. And the good thing about focusing on your own personal development, Jim Rohn has this interesting thing where he says, basically, I'll work on me for you, and you work on you for me. Because if you have two people who are into personal development, who are growing and contributing, who are fulfilled and loving, of course that's going to be a fire relationship. Whereas if you have another couple who's always trying to pour into the other person, and never doing their own personal development, that's eventually going to be a losing game. So I would say if you're insecure, we've all been there. I know for a fact that as I was falling more and more in love with Emilia, like the fear of like losing her has been very overwhelming at times. And I just said to myself, like, Alan, like if you're a better and better man and you never stop becoming a better and better man, trust that her intuition will always want you. And I know she's doing the same thing because that's the only thing you have control over anyway.
Fire. Also, study the 5 love languages. Like the fact that specifically I didn't know that until like 2 years ago blows my mind.
Right.
No wonder why I couldn't have a successful relationship, because I didn't know what the hell I was doing. So I would definitely say, like, guys, we study everything we do, but we don't study relationships. Like relationships are the one thing that people think are just going to succeed because why? Because everybody else has a successful relationship, except we don't see behind the curtain. We don't know if the relationship's good or not, especially on social media. Everybody's relationship's fire until they get divorced.
True.
Quickly. We got the bonus one, quick.
Real quick. David Goggins says social media is a good platform for everyone to show who they aspire to be, not who they really are.
That's fire.
Yeah. It really is powerful, and especially when it comes to relationships.
Cool. Strong work. All right. Number 6. I'm going to let you do this because I don't know what it is.
Okay.
Even though we just did an episode.
And even though Kevin did come up with the name.
I did.
Kevin came up with the name. He wanted me to make sure.
Yes.
You got credit for that.
I usually don't get any credit around here.
This is called the alignment audit. And I haven't actually asked Amy about this yet, but we're going to hopefully create, if you're willing, Amy, a PDF to send everybody after this. I've realized through doing these free calls that most people are far greater than they believe they are. They're just out of alignment. So if you have a specific goal and the behaviors don't match it, the core values don't match it, and the beliefs don't match it, you'll never achieve the goal, and it'll hurt your self-esteem. And then it doesn't snowball in the right direction. So most people are like, oh, okay, I'm shy, so I can't be a speaker. When in reality, that core belief is the reason they'll never be a speaker. So here's what the bonus is. It's called the alignment audit. Ask yourself the following questions, and we'll actually send you a questionnaire after this. Number 1, are my goals aligned with my behaviors? Number 2, are my behaviors aligned with my core values? Number 3, are my core values aligned with my beliefs? So if you take out a piece of paper and write goals, behaviors, core beliefs, core values, and beliefs, if you're not achieving something that you want to achieve, it's most likely because one or more of those is off. And then the last one, and this is the one Kevin mentioned, extra credit is your state. So for example, Kevin and myself, we have a goal today to add value on this mastermind to all of you. Okay, we both are aligned in that goal. Our behavior is to be good podcasters.
Hopefully.
To be funny and engaging and insightful.
Hopefully you see that.
Right, hopefully. Our core value is to be good men into personal development and share that with all of you. Our belief is that we can do it and that you all desperately need to hear what we have to say. So that's all aligned. What if Kevin got no sleep last night, or I came in an unresourceful state and we're off? It's not because our goals, behaviors, core values, or beliefs are off. It's because maybe we're in an unresourceful state. So those are the 5. Whenever you've done something outside of alignment with your highest self, if you audit yourself and go, oh, that's why. Simple example, last thing, minute and 55 seconds. Here we go. If you have a goal to be in ridiculously good shape, what is one belief that you must have to achieve that? And here's an example of someone who's outside of alignment. The physique they showed me of Sadiq, who weight trains every single day.
And is on the sauce for sure.
Yeah, and he verbatim said, I've missed maybe 5 days in the last 5 years. I heard him say that in an interview. And this other person said, I don't really want to weight train. His belief is that he can achieve that physique without weight training. You'll never win, and then it'll hurt your self-esteem. That's like wanting to be a world-class tennis player and never stepping on the court. You're just going to hurt your self-esteem the whole time. So I think the reason we don't have goals isn't because we're not capable, but because we haven't aligned them with our behaviors, our core values, and our beliefs.
And you can check in with your relationships too, right? Like, are your relationships similar? Do you have similar beliefs to those around you? Do you have similar goals like Alan and I talked about? Similar behaviors? What's the other one?
Core values.
Core values.
And think about it this way. Imagine talking politics. Why don't people talk politics? Because if you have a different belief than someone and then they're egotistical and think that their way is the right way and that it's the only way, now all of a sudden your relationship gets hurt. It's not because this person's a bad person. It's because you're outside of alignment. And again, that's where the 3 minutes, 3 hours, 3 days, 3 weeks comes in. Maybe you're spending 3 weeks with people that should be 3 minute or 3 hour or 3 day.
That's a great so we have Hyperconscious Book Club that my beautiful girlfriend created. And we're learning about how to be anti-racist. So think of it this way. That is a very like deep, tough book with a lot of tough things to talk about. Our ultimate goal is to be supportive, to learn, and to grow. We have never once had a single problem talking about it. Why? Because we all have the same core values. We don't have the same beliefs necessarily, but we have the same goal, right? And because we're the best. We have the best people in the world.
We really do. Those are fire.
I have one more question.
Okay. Yeah, 1 minute. 1 minute drill.
Okay. How do you deal with opinions of others and when you feel hesitant to post what you want on social media?
Understand the post that you do not put up cannot impact any lives. And if you do not want the life of the people that you're basing your decisions on, you're Jeff.
Par?
I mean, I would probably go into more if we had more time, but like, I always say that with your like people's family. Oh, my family's judging me. I'm afraid to do things around my family. Unless you want the results your family has, your behavior has to be different. And I know like, it's very like, oh yeah, it's easy. Honestly, like start getting around people who are doing what you want and people who are going to support you.
You might have to choose. Is the pain of being judged greater than the pain of regret of not achieving the goal? And the last thing I would say, Wayne Dyer said this. He said, when you win an election in the US by 53%, you win by a landslide. If you're going to do something remarkable, expect people to remark upon it. And by the way, a lot of it's going to be negative. Like even right now, we're on Facebook Live. A lot of the things we said, I guarantee you there are people out there going, Alan, like, right? Whatever. Because you can't have one good thing without some bad. There's a weakness with every strength, and you got to overcome that. I would rather achieve my dreams and add value to you than deal with their beliefs that are outside of alignment with what we are and who we are.
And then just to tie it back in, lean on your why power. Why? Why are you even posting in the first place? Do you have a goal? Do you have a belief? Do you have a mission? You have a passion that you're trying to get across. Like you're doing it to help people. The reason you're doing it is to inspire or to change. Don't let people change you because of their fears or their insecurities or their judgments. That's not why you're doing this. And honestly, those people might come around eventually too to whatever it is you're trying to do. Like we've seen that as well. So that's what I would say. You have an awesome message, a mission, a purpose. Share that stuff. You dig?
I dig.
Guys, you are the best. This was a little freestyle, but we appreciate you guys so much. And as always, we don't have fans, we have family. If anybody wants free calls for podcasting, I think we're putting the stuff in. Or Alan does peak performance business coaching because he likes the numbers and all that. Happy Jess.
Yeah, please book a call if you haven't yet. We want to get to know our listeners better, and we want to help you make sure you're in alignment. Also, thank you all for joining. We really appreciate this.
I don't know how to do a heart. Fat fingers.
Fat fingers.
There it is. All right, guys, we're going to get out of here.
Please reach out as well. Engage. We want you to engage more. And thank you for attending.
Love you. Bye.